How's your day been, bro?
Dude, busy as always. Got the new hats. I need to send you something.
You do need to send me. I need a new sweater.
Well, it's summertime, homie. We got baseball tees.
I'm all about the sweaters. Oh, you have baseball tees?
Yeah, they're. You gotta come visit. I'm not sending you shit. Come visit.
I'm coming, dude. I'm coming. I'll be there probably later in the year. Now that everything's finally blown over.
Dude, I have Aaron Bevins is coming next week. Jory Alston's coming next week. Lauren Hardy's coming this week. People are starting to fly back out. David Dodge is coming next week. So, or a couple weeks. I can't even keep track anymore. I'm like, fuck, dude, I'm gonna get no work done.
I don't get how you guys do get work done, period. Like, it doesn't make any sense how you guys get work done when so many people are coming in all the time.
Well, it hasn't been like that lately, but Brent's normally only Fridays where people really come in.
Yeah, but you guys, I remember talking to Pace about it last time I was there. He was like, yeah, man, like it gets hard when people want to come into town and then we can't really do anything because we're entertaining people and people want to go to dinner and all this other stuff.
Yeah. Like I'm going to dinner with Alex Sines tomorrow, Lauren Hardy on Thursday. And it's like I have to figure out a way not to get drunk to be hungover the following day so I can get stuff done. Oh, we're live. Shit. I didn't even know we're live.
Yeah, but we're live. I'm just sharing it in a couple more groups. Make sure we get a good amount of people coming in. I think that's about all. Awesome, dude. So this is my good friend Jesse Burrell. He's a part owner of Batch Skip Tracing. He's built 2 or 3 $1 million wholesaling companies over the last couple of years, and he's a complete badass and a good friend of mine. Did I miss out any of your other accomplishments, man?
No, I think that covers it. We're obviously doing a little bit of real estate development stuff too.
Oh yeah, you are doing some development stuff as well.
Yeah.
And so we'll just start off, guys. You guys can be interactive and everything. We'll start off, man. How did you get into real estate, boss?
All right. That's a great story. I was finishing school. So I went to school for golf, actually, and I wanted to be a golf instructor. So
I didn't know that.
You learn something new every day. And I did all my internships and learned pretty quickly that I didn't want to wake up at 4 every day and make 15 to 20 bucks an hour and take 5 to 10 years to make, barely touching 6 figures. And my friend Danielle Kroll at the time was working for an investor. This was in like 13 or 14, maybe. I don't know. I've been doing this for 6 or 7 years. I can't remember. And long story short is she's like, hey, I think we're going to hire somebody new. And I don't really know what that looks like. So what I basically did was this guy from California came out here and was flipping homes and then also created a property management company to where he was pretty much just wholesaling houses to his friends, putting tenants in there and then managing the property. So he gets them for 100, sell to them for 110, 120, put a tenant there. And then when they would get finished, they would normally spruce them up just a touch and then sell them if the investor wanted to exit. Because, from in Phoenix from 2010, all the way up till now, properties have just been growing and growing and growing in value. So basically what I did, and I didn't even know it at the time, was I was more of like an acquisition rep or underwriter to where I was looking for, he also flipped, and I was looking for the properties that for him to flip. And at that time, you could still get pre-foreclosures and short sales on the MLS. So I was just scouring the MLS, calling up agents, trying to lock up properties for them. And then I would have to, and then I quickly learned I would go out there with them and figure out what rehab cost was and if it was deal or no deal. And then you kind of like what we do today, I would be able to look at pictures, estimate what it was. And if it made sense to make, 15 to 20% net, we'd lock it up and take it down. If not, I'd keep looking. And I did that every day for a year.
Wow. And so what'd you do after that? Do you just decide like, man, I can do this shit on my own or what?
Actually, they were starting to sell off all properties and he wasn't anymore. So during my last few months, I got my license. And then what I did was I knew a couple investors from networking, and I just used my license to do the same thing. And then shortly after, and I was doing some traditional stuff as well. And shortly after, I basically partnered with Danny and Jared, Danielle Kroll and Jared Vidalis, and we created the first wholesale company I was a part of, and went to rocking and rolling, and followed the Sean Terry script and started sending direct mail, putting out bandit signs, and knocking on doors.
Awesome. And then how long were you Danny and Jared together?
I think like 2.5 years, and then we just kind of had different directions, and they were nice enough to let me take the staff that wanted to come with me, and I just started my own thing, and it was pretty fun. It was nice. I learned a lot from them. I had a lot of skill sets that I got to grow into, and then I was ready to do it on my own. They started dating like halfway through our partnership, so they kind of wanted to build their thing. I kind of wanted to do my thing, and it all worked out. I'm still super close with both of them, and they're happy, I'm happy, and we're all crushing it together.
What did you? How did you find your partner? Like, what made you choose Danny and Jared?
She's the one that brought me in originally. So, she knows a lot about flipping homes. She knows a lot about real estate. And I thought she had a lot of good leadership qualities. And then Jared, I met through a friend, and he was kind of doing it on his own. And, all of us were trying to kind of figure out how to put it together, and wanted to share some marketing costs and flip houses together. So it was just three people that were hungry and determined to do whatever it took to be successful in, the wholesale and flipping industry. And, we did a good job. We all had a lot of skill sets to where we were very early adopters of doing PPC. We actually went nationwide. So we were buying houses all over the country, or wholesaling houses all over the country and flipping. It's just being resourceful and doing whatever it takes. And they both had that mindset, and I was very comfortable partnering with them.
Awesome. And so after that, how long were you on your own? How long were you with them? Then how long were you on your own?
And then I was on my own for the next 2 years, and I basically was just doing cold calling. So I had 4 acquisition guys. They would just cold call. I would skip trace data, pull lists, load them up on a Mojo dialer. And that's basically the first year or so we did that. And then I was a pretty early adopter of the text messaging too, and started sending out text messages. And back then, no one was getting text. So it was like shooting fish in the barrel. It was just, I already had the data. So load it up in texting, have them, calling. And while they're calling, they're texting. If they get a hot lead, hop off the dialer and try and schedule an appointment and lock up a deal. And what I would do from there is I had a crew that I always keep busy. So I would cherry pick the deals I really liked. So I was able to really maximize my earnings on some fix and flips. If I didn't like the wholesale price people were giving to me, I'd just take them down and flip them.
Mm-hmm. That's awesome, dude. And so we're there. And then 2 years, when in the world did you meet Annie and Evo?
I know, I kind of have a weird journey. I have like 3 phases to my journey. So I met Annie and Evo about 2.5 years ago. And from there is what happened. We met at a mastermind, and Annie and Evo were kind of not doing the greatest on the sales side of things, with like kind of training their sales guys how to properly motivate them. So I kind of helped them there. And then Evo and Annie are obviously implementers. So they were helping me with my Podio and, my CRM. And I actually lost TLO like right when I met him. And Evo's like, hey, I have this great data source. And all I was doing was cold calling at that time. That was before texting.
Yeah.
So he's like, well, I have this data source. I'll hook you up, blah, blah, blah. And I used it, and we started getting a bunch of deals from it. And soon after, I was like, well, I think I might have some friends that may be interested. What do I get? And he's like, oh, you could have half. And I was like, deal. So he pretty much from there, batch skip tracing basically started on accident. I was just like, I have some friends, and then it turned into more friends. And then we kind of just looked at each other and were like, okay, I think we have a business. So, put together a website, and then we were off and running from there. And then soon after, Annie came along. She's like, hey, I want to be a part of this too. and then it just kind of got rolling. And then about a year after we had batch, and we worked very well together, because I was hesitant. I'd already broke off from a partnership. So I was keeping my wholesale separate, and then we were doing batch together. But I was like, I don't know if I want to be partners with for everything with people again. And it felt right. It took us quite a long time to get there because they'd only worked together too, so they'd never had any type of outside partner. So we took our time, we made sure it was right, and then we decided to combine our real estate operations and then everything else as well.
Let's talk about like going into a partnership and how it's a marriage. One of our good friends just broke up with his partnership, and it was like him going through a divorce, you know? Like, how can people avoid that? How do people end partnerships the right way? How do people know they're picking the right partner? Because I think that's huge, at least knowing your own unique abilities, so that way you don't have two visionaries and then shit doesn't get done.
Yeah. You know, Annie and Evo are so different than me. That's why I took a long time. So I want to use Pace and Cody Barton for an example. I think this is a great example. Is Pace and Cody didn't start off as partners. Cody went to Pace and said, hey, I'm really good at generating leads. I'll 50-50 with you, everything you close. So that's what they did for 3 to 6 months. They weren't partners, but they weren't partners on paper. They were just JVing together, seeing if it's a fit. And they soon realized that Pace is a monster visionary, is a great closer, and Cody's an incredible implementer and very good at staying organized on the back end systems. So soon after, they said, yo, this is a fit, let's make it work. But I think I think it's just better to start JVing, not necessarily jumping into it together. You need to find the counterpart to where someone's good at what you're not at and vice versa, or else the partnership's never going to work because you're going to force someone into a role that they're not good at doing.
Exactly. And then how did you end your partnership so well with Jared and Danny?
Honestly, it wasn't great for like 6 to 12 months, but all of us never said anything to hurt each other to the point that, you know, we were in our feelings for a while. I mean, dude, it hurt. Like there was hurt feelings on both sides, but I knew deep down that I cared about them and it was a business decision, as did they. And it took a little bit of time to get over it, but we never went and crossed a line to where we really hurt, you know, one of each other to where you couldn't fix or salvage that relationship. And we just kind of slowly got back to being very close. But that was probably during my real estate journey, that was probably the hardest 9 to 12 months of my career, because I went out and obviously I left them and started my own operation. So there's a lot of doubt, a lot of, you know, concern with what you're going to do. And Danny was always my rock and who I leaned on when I needed that extra push to have someone believing in me or doing something. So it was really hard for me during that time, but I don't regret any of it because it made me that much stronger and helped me become that much more of a leader for the team that I brought with me.
Growing pains. Let's talk about that transition. I remember talking to you about it, of you and Annie and Eva all combining your wholesale businesses. And what was that like? What were the hiccups you guys encountered? And then let's talk about like the lag time of like the leads not coming in for a while as well.
I think I told you this story. This is not a great story. This is a story for you guys to learn from my mistakes. Is me, Annie, and Evo all kind of ramped down our marketing because we're paying separately. And then once we combined, we turned it back on. And our first month, we lost $40,000 by not having a proper pipeline, by ramping our pipelines down. And it was the biggest mistake I've ever made. So I talked to a lot of people during COVID because they were kind of scared and they didn't want to burn up money. At the same time, you're not burning up money. You're just building a pipeline for big months in the future. And I just kind of had to say, you guys, don't turn it off. Like, you could get leaner, you could do whatever you want, but don't turn your marketing off, because there's going to be a ramp up period. And if you go dry for 3 or 4 months in this industry, I mean, it's just going to kill you, not just financially, but then you start doubting yourself and stuff starts creeping in, and you maybe didn't do anything wrong, but turn off that faucet. You at least have to keep it dripping, especially during COVID. I know a lot of people that turned it off and they're struggling to get back. The people that were willing to stay with the plan, obviously adjust to the marketing, but that didn't turn it off. They were the only ones marketing for 2 months when everybody else was scared. So they got a bunch of leads that they're converting now.
Yeah. And what's going on, Michael? What's going on, Daryl? What's going on, Steph? I'd like to talk about, we were talking about this before, mindset. How the hell do you, that's the biggest part of everything that I've learned. The biggest separator between everyone I know and the people who are really successful is mindset and positivity, not letting the ghosts creep into those heads, the self-doubt, and then thinking bigger and thinking more of yourself. I remember when I told you, I was like, man, I'm going to make like 25 grand this month. And it was like a dry month. You're like, bro, how do you live off of 20 grand? And I was like, oh my God, thanks, bro. But like stuff like that to like get to that point, even though it's like, I'm a big Bob Proctor guy, like not quite super law of attraction, but it's a real thing to where if you focus on it, it's going to come into play.
Yeah, I mean, I've been pretty big on that type of stuff. And the toughest thing for me is that I had to overcome was believing I was worth making a certain amount of money. And that was one of the big things is like people tie their worth to a number. And if you could get rid of that and just, focus and set really big goals, I think that's important. I also think once I surrounded myself with on a daily basis with people like Jamil Damji, Pace Morby, Brent Daniels, Evo, Annie, Carlos, Sal, Alex Sines, like you just you think differently and you believe differently. And I always believed, but when you're around people like that all the time and they expect greatness, and if you're not great, you're not in that room. So you have to be able to step up. You have to, I think everybody thrives off of each other and pushes each other. And that's kind of the thing that we made with our circle is we support the heck out of each other, but at the same time, we expect a lot out of each other. No one's slacking. I mean, everybody's pushing it. They have huge goals, huge dreams. And a lot of people are wanting to add a lot of value, especially, the coaches like Brent and Pace, like the things that they do with how much they help try and change people's lives. It blows my mind. And I try and do that as well with all the knowledge I have with all the people that use our services is I don't treat it as just a product. I mean, me and you have had a lot of conversations to where I'm here to help. My job is to make sure that you guys get deals using our products and services. Because if you don't, you're not going to use this anymore. And I understand that.
Yeah, bro. I mean, the products and services are huge. Let's kind of go into talking about what Batch has to offer as compared to other stuff, because Batch is a one-stop shop, and I love it. We use Batch for everything.
Yeah, I mean, we started off with just batch skip tracing, where we're just providing phone numbers, and it soon evolved into some other stuff to where we built out data management and list stacking software, and from there, that was kind of our base, and we've tried to slowly combine that into something no one else has done with not a one-stop shop to where you could skip trace in there, you could pull lists in there now, you could obviously text message, and then we're going to be adding, you could direct mail out of there, you could do RVMs out of there, and then a dialer is going to be connected to where your data is in one place. You can push your marketing wherever you want. You don't have to have a million different subscriptions and have all these crazy Excel files everywhere. It's just, I've always thought of it like this. I hate fucking marketing. I hate doing my marketing. So let's find the most efficient way to get it done so we can get a hold of freaking homeowners and get contracts, get deals, and build up our pockets. Like that's it. So the easier we make it on you guys for marketing, the better it is for you to where you can focus on where we make money. We make money by talking to sellers and selling deals to buyers. And that's the most important thing in real estate, and I'll never forget it.
Oh, yeah. And all the fucking Excel sheets. You have 8 different sheets for one list that you use, and then you have however many lists, and Batch Lead Stacker just eliminates all that, which has been awesome. We got that. We use you guys for texting, the list stacking. We're going to be trying you guys out for the cold calling as well. Our call center will probably plug in you guys and test out some of that. And then I'm talking to someone from your Go Knock app, and I'm pretty sure we're going to be beta testing that as well.
Yeah, we have that too. You can thank Pace for the Go Knock app because he came to us saying, hey, develop this. But I'm really excited about that. That's going to be a little bit different than any other driving for dollars or app to where you could drive for dollars, but you could also door knock, which is really cool. And we're going to have data in there. So instead of just blindly driving around for dollars, you can start clicking on areas and it will show if they're absentee owner or in pre-foreclosure to where you don't have to drive and figure it out. We're going to show you those data points and you can start building your list, especially if you're new, and you're going to have a lot better opportunity of getting a hold of someone that's in distress instead of just driving around looking at an ugly house. Like I don't know how these driving for dollar companies do it, but it's just, we're trying to create a better mousetrap on that, because I just saw the inefficiencies driving around guessing. If you could start seeing data sets where people could start targeting stuff, especially for new people that don't have a ton of money, they could potentially get a deal just spending a few dollars.
Oh yeah, and I'm not a fan of really driving for dollars unless you're cold calling while you do it, because you're not doing anything. Like, you're not talking to people. I'm much bigger fan of like going and just knocking on their doors.
Yeah, you could do that, but you could also, we have texting in there too. So like you could click on a pre-foreclosure, you could skip tracer information instantly in there, and then you could actually create a texting campaign. If you don't want to door knock it, or if you knock the door and they don't answer, you could call them, you could text them, and it's going to source that for you and keep track of all that stuff for you. It's going to be pretty dope, dude. I'm excited.
What's going on, Charles? Michael Butler says Batch has everything. Jason Willis laughed, and then Charles face palm to Excel, bro. Excel is the absolute worst. What is your favorite part about real estate, man?
Honestly, I kind of alluded at the beginning to where I wanted to teach golf. So basically, I was very passionate about something and wanted to help people get better. My favorite thing about real estate is being able to help people get better and hit their goals and create the financial freedom like I've been able to, because I was, 28 years old and broke, driving around, in a broken down car, just kind of still trying to figure it out. I always believed I would get somewhere, but it took time to find my path, and I just never had the right opportunity. I kept thinking the corporate life was for me and I had to go to school, and it was just a huge mistake I made in my 20s. And then I can only imagine if I would have started earlier. But at the same time, we didn't have YouTube. We didn't have all this information readily available to us as we do today. So I'm not going to say I would have fully taken advantage of the opportunity, because I think in my early 20s, I was just a dumbass, to be completely honest with you. And I was more concerned about, partying and chasing girls than, stacking dollars. And I soon realized that once you get a little older, they care more about the dollars than how you look. So I was like, I should maybe focus on that.
All right, man. Speaking of girls, what's your work-life balance like?
I'm lucky to have an amazing girlfriend that is very supportive. I started dating her like 6 months before me and Danny and Jared separated. She was my rock during that time to believe in me. And, she's like, you got this. I'm probably not the greatest at it, to be honest with you. I try and turn my phone off at 8:00, but I'm not great at that either, and give her attention. So we try and do like pool and hot tub, and I'll leave my phone inside and try and give her undivided attention. And then on the weekends, we try and do like a date night every week or two, to where phone's on silent and we just focus on each other and make sure I'm giving her the attention that she needs. And then,
so you got that. I know you were a golf coach. You still golf, right?
Not really. I'm working on that. And for the work-life balance stuff, I actually just got a membership at a golf course, because I want to be better about not always focusing on work and getting back to other things I'm passionate about besides work. So I actually I start July 1st. So next time you're in town, we get some golfing in.
Okay. I'm getting better, but I'm trash.
That's okay.
What else? What's your real estate business look like today? Like what's your best process? I mean, you guys are processed out of like how a lead comes in. You do it. Do you guys use Keegly for dispo, or do you do it all yourselves?
Both. So, I mean, right now we've more or less been all the wholesales we've gotten in the last 2 to 3 months. We've bought 80% of them. So what we basically done is Keegly had a better list. So during COVID, we were buying and flipping, and then we basically didn't even try and move stuff. We had a pretty good disposition operation too, but we would buy them or we'd let Keegly disposition them, just because it was just very difficult. They had the best list in Phoenix, and I always like to support Jameel anyways and Keegly. And I just thought it was a good win-win for all of us during the COVID time, at least.
That's awesome. I just lost my man. So we got KP, the way leads come in. What's your main forms of marketing, Data King? Do you guys do any direct mail?
So we don't do direct mail. We do cold calling. We do text message and RVM. So basically what our platform offers is what we do. We're pretty much, there's no Google ads, no Facebook ads. We've been primarily, we set up a pretty good process for telecommunication leads. So what a lead comes in, so we actually have our acquisition guys, they would do the texting. And so while they're, calling all their leads, we have a leads manager. So for the RVM and cold calling, those would go to the lead manager. She'd screen them. If they hit a certain threshold of, we had 4 pillars. If they hit a certain 2 of those pillars, it would go to the acquisition guy. If it seemed like a tire kicker or it was only 1 pillar, let's just say they just gave us a price, but they didn't give us motivation, they didn't give us the time, and they didn't give us, I can't even think of the other pillar right this second. She would call them property condition, right? Is the other one. And so she would call and see if it's a lead, and then we'd pass it forward to our guys. Like the acquisition people don't do any cold calling. They would just send out texts because they had time to fill their day, and we don't go on appointments. We do everything virtually, even in Phoenix. So they're able to sit there and manage their texting platform, and they're just going to be able to answer better than a VA. And also they're going to be able to hop on a call immediately instead of it touching someone and then touching someone else. They're just that direct source of contact with the text messages.
And so they're calling the text leads immediately. You don't have the your leads manager call and screen them, because that's how we have it set up.
Well, no, they're talking to them. So they're sending out the initial message.
Yeah.
And then, so they're communicating with them. So they just hop on the phone if they got a hot one, is basically how they do it.
Okay.
Because they're vetting the lead themselves.
Okay. Does your leads manager handle the bullshit follow-up as well? Like for those 1 pillar leads?
Yes. So she handles a 1 pillar. And then if, like, let's say someone goes dark, that kicks back into the lead manager folder, and she'll try and get them back in contact. If they warm back up, it will go back over to the acquisition rep.
Okay. Awesome. Bro, I think I was talking to you, Pace, and Jamil, and you two were both like, bro, you need a leads manager. Like, you're wasting bullshit time on these, like, legitimately 1 pillar leads. Even some 2s really aren't worth your time, and it gets to be a pain in the ass.
So that we would actually change that if they would, depending on how heavy our lead flow is. So like if it's a slower week, we would do 2 pillars. But if we have a lot of leads coming in, we would change it to 3. So we could actually let our leads manager know what to push and what not to push. If they're really busy with text leads or, something, or we have a bunch of RVM stuff coming in, then we're going to tighten it up to where we don't want to overflow our acquisition guys with too many leads, or else they're not going to be able to properly get through their pipeline every day.
And they're going to get burned.
Yes, that too.
So what is a day in the life of Jesse Burrell?
That's a good question. It's different every day. I mean, we have multiple businesses with GoKnock and Batch Leads and real estate development and wholesaling and flipping. So it's basically a lot of meetings, and luckily I have a great team to where I get to delegate a lot of my work, but I have to do a lot of the high level thinking and trying to think of how can we improve, your experience at Batch Leads, or how can we, get more efficient with our contractors. So I'm trying to figure out ways to, get more efficient. And I'm trying to think of, especially our customers, me and Evo talk every day. How can we make our skip tracing better? How can we find another data provider? I'm doing a lot more of the digging instead of the grinding, to where I'm trying to find better ways to make all of our companies better, instead of, I've kind of got out of that day-to-day grind on having to be on the phones or having to sell deals or having to lock deals up. Mine's more of, the visionary, bigger picture, and how can we make everything better? And then me, Annie, and Evo kind of divide and conquer and do our best to make sure we're able to, do everything. I lost my train of thought. We do our best to really figure out a way to we want to improve all of our companies every day, and it's our job to figure it out, because there's a lot of people that depend on us, not just our support staff and our team. We have a lot of people that use our products and services now, and I bear a big burden because it means it's very important to me to make sure that everybody, is getting taken care of properly. And you guys know, if we change something, I need to make sure that, you as a business owner know what changes are made, or if there's a better way to do it. It's my job to relay that to all of our customers as well. And they mean a lot to me because without them, there's no way I would be where I'm at either. So I look at it both ways.
Exactly. So are they all VAs or anyone in-house? What exactly do you mean by that, Michael? Because I know his acquisition people are in-house. And then your leads manager is a VA, correct?
No, she is virtual, but she comes in like twice a week. So she comes to our Monday morning meetings, but she has a young child, so she just worked from home, but she lives in Phoenix. And then our cold callers were VAs. And that was our only VAs. And then we have some VAs that would do some other little tasks, for our team. But it's mostly our only VAs were really cold callers. I've always liked to pay a little bit more for local people or people in-house to where I think you have a little bit better way to manage them and make sure that they're staying on top of stuff and keeping them motivated, making sure they're happy. I mean, I think the toughest part in business, in my opinion, is people. It's not the product or the process. It's making sure that your staff is aligned with you and that they're motivated and that you're doing everything that they want to reach their goals and their dreams and their ambitions. So that's what I've really learned from management leadership is it's not about you, it's about them. And without them, there's no me. So it all works hand in hand, to be completely honest with you.
Oh yeah, there's one thing whatsoever.
What's that?
The people aspect is something I did not expect whatsoever. And with our cold calling company in-house, with our acquisitions people, leads manager, keeping everybody motivated, keeping everybody on the same page, way harder than thinking up a system that can do something for you.
Yeah, I mean, people are always that variable, but they're the most important part. If you get a great person on your team, I mean, don't let them go. You have to do whatever it takes. You have to support them and you have to pour into them, and you also have to understand that you might have a great person for 2 years. I think you kind of might have a similar story to where you were working underneath somebody and then graduated. You have to understand that there is a life cycle to some of these people, and you have to just be happy that they were a part of it. And if they graduate and move on and do it on their own, I've never been upset with somebody or spited them. I've been happy and applauded them and said, let me know how I can help you grow your business. Because, it's all about collaboration. It's not about competition. And it's about if someone wants to go do it on their own and grow, I'm glad that I was able to help you get there.
And where do you?
What's that? Sorry, you broke up.
Where are you finding all your people?
A lot of it's through networking. I have a lot of friends, and I keep in touch with people pretty well. So I kind of have people in like my back pocket. And like this new guy that we're going to hire, I've known him for 3.5 years and never offered him a job. I waited till the right opportunity. Our last disposition guy, he worked for mortgages and did stuff. And then I finally, once I knew what he made and what his goals were to make, and knowing that I could provide enough deals for him to make that money, I was like, hey, man, this might be a great experience for you. Would you be interested? So I do a lot of that. But I would say 80% of our staff is through people and connections of people that I know and just stayed in contact with, because when you find good talent, it's hard to find. And I don't offer them a job until I'm sure that it can reach their goals financially and make sure that they're aligned with kind of what I'm trying to do.
That's the How do you build your culture?
How do I build my culture?
Yeah, how have you built your culture in all your companies?
Me and Evo definitely try to lead by example. I still hop on support calls, for Batch. I've talked to you for many hours when you're mad at me or mad at something. So I'm not scared to, Janae will come to me and she'll be like, hey, this person's not happy and you need to handle it and I'll handle it. And then we did a good job on our core values and our mission statement to where it literally is up on the walls in our office. And we talk about that stuff on a weekly basis, making sure. And every time I hire somebody, I go show them all of our core values, what our mission statement is. And I try to scare them, basically saying, this isn't a 9 to 5. This is movement. This is something we're trying to do to help people. If you're with it, I want you on board. But if it's more than what you're willing to put in, you just want to clock in, clock out, this isn't the type of job for you because you won't be working for us for very long.
I've lost my train of thought. Work-life balance, tips for hiring the right people, how you found the right partners, you have no hobby, you sometimes golf.
I love cars. I'm a car guy for sure. I just sold my GTR. I have a X5M. I'm looking at some other exotic stuff. Cars have always been fun. I've went and dragged them. I built a BMW. So I have some hobbies. I just don't have time for my hobbies very often. So I figure, I have to get in a car every day to go to work. So, I mean,
what was that? Your AMG BMW? What is it?
It's just a built 335. It has 750 horsepower.
Yeah, that thing was nuts.
But dude, my hobbies is work. It's helping people. It's growing. That can be a hobby too. When you love what you do, it's not work. And this is what I like to do. I mean, I should probably, get back onto that fitness hobby. It's been a couple of years for that. I could definitely get back on that train, hopefully sooner than later.
Yeah, I mean, that is that correlates with everybody who's really in our circles. Everybody's like, well, I mean, my hobbies work. I like to do this shit. It's fun. It's challenging. It keeps me entertained. And really the only thing that pulls me away from it is family time. And then even when I go golf now, it's for business. And I'm talking business while I'm golfing.
Yeah, I'm pretty good. I grew up playing competitively. So I turn the phone off. If I'm with, Pace or friends, we'll talk a little bit of work. But I don't really dive into work because with golf, if you're good at it, you can only focus at one shot at a time. You can't get ahead of yourself or behind yourself. And I try and stay in the moment. So that's actually why I'm trying to get back into it. It could be a decompressing tool to where, just like playing basketball for you for football, I know golf's a little bit slower, but I kind of train myself to be in the moment and focus on it. When you're playing football, you don't have time to think about, what problems you have in your business or how you're trying to grow your business tomorrow. You're focusing on, you were defensive, right?
Yeah, I played safety in the corner.
So you're focused on, how do I rip this guy's head off or how do I intercept this football? I mean, that's all your focus was at that time.
Pretty much. How do I go make more money?
For sure.
If someone's getting started out, what do you think are the first 3 things they should do to go get a deal? What process should they follow to go get a deal?
It depends on their marketing budget.
Little to no marketing, and then if you do have marketing.
Little to no, that's when I would go talk to someone like you or me or Pace and say, give me all your dead leads and let me try and get a deal out of it, and I'll split it 50-50 with you. Then you're working for free. Then your marketing's free. And you're learning from someone. They're inherently going to teach you some stuff just because you're working their leads. And that's a great way to get started with your first couple of deals. If you don't have any money, reach out to somebody and say, hey, raise your hand and say, hey, do you have a bunch of dead leads that you're not working? I'd be happy to split any deals I get with those. And that's a way to where you could build up a little marketing budget and start and get rocking and rolling. And let's say you do have a small budget. I would say, the Driving for Dollars apps aren't bad, or I would say it depends. If you have the time, I would say cold call and just hop on the phones and start talking to people, as Brent Daniels would say. The other way, I would say if you have a little bit of money, I would definitely do some cold calling and texting at the same time and just trying to contact sellers and make sure that you're contacting motivated sellers. So make sure you have a good list. If it's a, out-of-state absentee or vacant or a pre-foreclosure or an inherited or, the city lists are always great. So in Phoenix, we have a code violation list. You actually have to go down to the city to get it. That's always been a great list. There's 4,000 to 5,000 people on that every month. I know in Texas, they have like HOA liens, water shutoff lists, stuff like that. The harder the list is to find and the deeper that you're willing to dig, those are normally the best lists. Obviously, the lists that you could get from us or PropStream, or those are for people that are doing larger volume that need data to get more deals. But the riches is in the niches. If you're not doing a ton and just trying to get started with a deal or two, you can find a bunch of free stuff or stuff that costs you $10-$20 down at the county, get it skip trace and start calling or texting them, and deals are out there.
Let's talk about people using DataZap and shitty data, and how important good data is when you go find that good list, or you pull a massive equity list. Let's talk about how important that is.
So that's what people don't get is, the skip tracing list, like that type of data is DataZap's going to be like 5% of, it's called a right person contact. So that would be like actually the right person matching to the phone numbers that they give you for that contact. That's like 5 to 10%. Ours is close to 65%. So just imagine what the time that you're wasting. It's not just the cost of the data, it's the time that you're wasting and then not getting a hold of the right people. And, in this wholesale space, or if you're buying them for flipping, this is tens and tens of thousands of dollars. Like, the more accurate your data is, yes, it costs more, but your opportunity to make money is going to be much higher and much quicker than if you're using horrible data. It's just, it's a waste of your time. You may get lucky, but all of us know that are successful, it's all about percentages, and the percentages aren't great when you're using crappy data.
Oh yeah. Crazy.
What's that? Sorry, you broke up.
How can people find out more about you and learn more about Batch?
Jesse Burrell, that's my Instagram handle. Feel free to DM me. Same thing on Facebook. And then, if you want to find out more about Batch, you could go to batchleads.io, or you could go to batchskiptracing.com. We have 14 hours a day support people there that are more than happy to answer any questions that you have. And if they can't answer them, they could get you in touch with an account rep that we have in-house that works in the office every single day that understands your wholesale operation, that could always help you and give you tips and tricks on how to get more deals.
Exactly. Promo code BATCH. I'm going to shamelessly plug myself. Use promo code STRAT. And then if you guys need callers, inbound or outbound, we have call magicians. Send me a DM if you guys are interested in that. Thank you so much, Jesse. You have any parting words, my man?
I would say come to Phoenix soon, because I haven't seen you for like 6 months. And then thanks again for having me on. I love hopping on these. I hope I provided some type of value. And seriously, you guys, feel free to reach out. I love to help. I love to answer any questions. It doesn't have to be about lists. I've done a lot of wholesale deals. If you guys ever need help with any type of things when it comes to how to pay your employees, to how to structure LLC, I've basically dove in and learned how to do a lot of this stuff. So I'm always here to help. I'm a free resource for you guys, to be honest with you.
Awesome, bro. Thank you for coming on, man.